Hey guys, welcome to my round 10 fantasy team review video after a huge round of fantasy footy. A lot of our primos seemed to go really big this week, which was nice. And yeah, my team scored a very impressive 23.81, which was one of my best rounds of the season, my highest score of the season, in fact. And as a result, I improved in ranking around 5,000 spots this week to just around 18,000. So the ranking's slowly getting better after a disastrous start to the season, which is nice. So yeah, now we'll look back at the team, a quick review of the team, starting in defence as always. And yeah, Dacos, Siebel, they were okay without being fantastic this week, but the big one there was James Sicily scoring a big 125, which was definitely due from him. It was definitely needed. One of those bigger scores from Sicily, and yeah, that match up against the Eagles. The Eagles were absolutely putrid on the weekend, and he really took advantage of it. He just had a day out there, James Sicily, which was nice. Will Day, he actually got tagged for the majority of that game by Xavier O'Neill from the Eagles, so to end up scoring 86 was a pretty impressive effort in the end. And yeah, didn't expect someone like Will Day to cop a tag, but I guess that just goes to show what an impressive season he is having to date. Angus Brayshaw, he just continues to disappoint. And the thing with Brayshaw, though, on Friday night is he actually started the game, played most of the first half as a midfielder. He's attending pretty much every centre bounce, but he still had a poor game, so he's having a really bad season. But with the injuries, the injury to Clayton Oliver, he'll be out for a month, and Christian Salem coming back in defence for the D's. It probably looks like Brayshaw has a spot in the midfield now, so I'm very tempted to persist with him still, as frustrating as he's been. Then to the rookie, Miller Bergman there, 56. He's very good at that, Bergman. He's a very consistent score of around 50, 55, that sort of region, so I ended up taking that score from him this week. Now onto the all-conquering midfield. They were fantastic for me this week. You couldn't have asked for much more from my midfielders this week, starting off with Tim Taranto. And as I say each week, he's just the most reliable vice-captain, captain option. Just you can trust him to score that 120, which he did on the weekend. So that was an easy answer to take that score from Taranto this week. Tom Green, he was fantastic. As for the Bont, been very impressed with Bonampelli. He started off the season a bit underwhelming with his fantasy scoring, but he's really starting to hit that 110 each week now, which is really nice. Roddy Laird with a very impressive 131 against the Bulldogs down in Ballarat, and yeah, he continues to stake his claims to be a top 8 midfielder this season, and he definitely looks like he's kind of overcome that, whatever that calf issue was with him that saw a little bit of doubt around him to miss a game in the last month or so, but he seems fine now, so that's great. Caleb Sarong, he's just another one of my midfielders who's just on fire at the moment. 125 from him, which is just exceptional. So yeah, hopefully he can keep that up for the rest of the season, Sarong, as he also, like Laird, like Bont and all those guys, are definitely pushing to be a top 8 midfielder this year. And then Will Ashcroft, he's definitely found his groove over the last 2 weeks or so. Back-to-back 115 plus scores from him. So he's really starting to hit his straps, getting used to playing senior AFL footy now. So he was one that I was planning to trade out around this time of the year just before the buys, but there's no need to at the moment. He's just not scoring like a rookie, so definitely keeping him for the pretty near future. You would have thought now Ashcroft, no need to trade him out anytime soon. And then to the rookies who were really impressive for me this week and definitely needed my rookies to really lift. As I've mentioned over the last couple of videos, I've kind of been stuck with 1, 2, 3 sort of rookies on my field, and that's really hurt me. So to see Wilmot score his highest score of the season was definitely helpful this week in 74. So hopefully he can kind of build on that now. And then George Wardlaw, who I brought in this week on debut for North, he was fantastic. Just tough as nails, this kid, and yeah, he'd definitely keep on playing now. And his scoring should be pretty solid, around 70, 80. He loves a tackle, so you should see pretty consistent scoring from him. So if you don't have Wardlaw, I'd definitely look to bring him in this week. Then to those midfield rookies, Chesser, not a great score, but at least he came back in the side, and you'd think with the Eagles struggling at the moment, he should continue to get games, no matter how well he's playing, really. And then Jury, 14, he's been pretty disappointing since his a reasonable debut game a couple of weeks back, so he's probably one who I can't see really keeping his spot in the side after that performance. To the rucks now, Rowan Marshall, he was exceptional as always, and Jared Witt's a little bit disappointing, but that's kind of what he does. He doesn't really hit that ton very often. He's more that 80, 90 sort of range, so it's definitely hurting me not owning Tim English in that position, but at least he's very consistent with his scoring, at least Witts. And lastly, onto the forward line, just like my midfielders this week, the forward primos just delivered, and Dunkley, Gould and Rosie, they've just been fantastic picks for us all season long, really. And then we have Zak Butters there, who I brought in this week for Callum Mills, and fair to say that just couldn't have turned out any better, really. Butters played one of the best individual games I've seen so far this season. It was just extraordinary what he was doing with his kicking and all that. He was just immense, and yeah, score 148 for me, instant reward. Bringing him in was just, yeah, couldn't have turned out any better, really. And yeah, Butters, he looks like he'd be a certain top six forward with the form he's in at the moment. And then Harry Sheezer, he just continues to deliver. This time playing a little bit of a different role though. Spent a lot of time in the midfield and a bit up forward. Actually kicked a couple of goals, so definitely a different sort of role that we've seen from him compared to that half-back accumulator sort of role. But it doesn't have seemed to impact his scoring, which is good. And then we round out the forward line with Josh Rochelle. Actually happy with that score in the end. It was on track to score another really woeful 30 or 40 at the start of that game, so he ended up kicking a couple of goals to reach 74. So he's someone though that I'll have to look to trade out in the next couple of weeks, so he's kind of not going to push the top six forwards or anything like that. So yeah, definitely someone who I'll have to look to trade out in the next couple of weeks. Then to the bench there, Alan Davies scored a 47 this week, but actually dropped in price, so he's another one that I'll have to look to move on pretty shortly. So in terms of what my trades are currently looking like heading into round 11, what I really want to do this week is get a rookie off my ground. And if you don't count Sheezel and Ashcroft, I'm still fielding those free rookies at the moment, which is definitely not ideal. So definitely need to look to remove a rookie off my ground this week. So to do that, I'll remove 2 dead weight rookies in Wagner and Cow, and I'll bring in Josh Fahey. I think it's only a matter of time before this guy debuts. A couple of injuries for the Giants on the weekend, and he just dominates in the VFL. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if this was the week we see him make his debut for the Giants. And then with that cash, I look to upgrade Lockie Cowan, bring in someone who hasn't really been spoken about at all, really. Someone really unique in Lloyd Meek for the Hawks. Now, he's been really good, especially in his last 3 games. Average 85 over his last 3 and playing more of that solo ruck role for the Hawks. Now, Ned Reeves actually went off injured on the weekend with an ankle sort of concern, so I'm not too sure what the severity of that injury is for Reeves, but if Reeves happens to miss for a kind of extended sort of period, even around a month or so, I'm really keen on bringing Lloyd Meek in there, as I think he's really capable of scoring around that 90 mark as that solo ruck role. And you might remember someone like Darcy Cameron last year when Brodie Grundy went down. He came in and absolutely dominated, and I think Lloyd Meek has that sort of capability in him to really do something similar to. Yeah, for me, it's either Lloyd Meek or Ben Hobbs now. Ben Hobbs is a great pick. He'll be a very popular option this week, spending a lot of time in the midfield with their injuries, but I think Lloyd Meek's definitely a nice point of difference. Adds some flexibility over the buys as well to flick him into the ruck. So he's someone I would encourage a lot of people to keep an eye on this week. And yeah, in terms of the other options I could look at, as I mentioned, Ben Hobbs in the forwards, he's another option I could have a look at, very similar to price to Meek. In the midfield, I'd love to bring in someone like Zach Merritt. Scored 158, I think it was, against the Tigers on Saturday night. Played one of the best games he's probably ever played. So he's a great pick. Plays the Eagles and North Melbourne is next too. So I probably just don't have enough cash to do that. But yeah, Zach Merritt probably a very nice trade target for those out there this week. So yeah, that's all for today's video, guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you all at the end of round 11 next week.